Hi, and welcome to this week's video. Today we are talking about Revolution, the Gate of Principles, Gate 49. And this is going to be affecting us February 8th to the 13th. I realized that this whole transit deal that we're doing here, where we share a broadcast about each transit, is really experiential, because I feel like this last week was a whole experiential lesson in Gate 13. It really came up in conversations, in my experiences, and I'm still tenderly challenged at the moment by a situation where I tried to express my needs and someone will not listen to me. So I feel I've been like crying for the last day and a half. So I realized this is no joke. And this whole process that we've embarked on together, I think, is more emotional than I bargained for. I thought we were just going to report on the gates. And already I'm like, no, I'm living the gate.
Yeah, that's right. This is the influence, the impact of the sun, and the sun is like 75% of the impact we are getting actually. So it's a big thing, and it's so amazing to observe this impact if you are aware and you are able to recognize what it is, when it is, what's it about, what does it mean for you. Because reflecting on the current transit, 13th gate, of listener, yeah, for me it was more about maybe not my personal experience, but as I was looking at the world, this is this gate of fellowship of man, and this theme of all mankind living together in peace, listening to each other. I was thinking about that, and then I was looking at the world and in the news, in the mass media, showing all this news about the war and destruction and how people fight and do not listen and do not want to think about this common good. I was crying. I was crying observing all that. So it's not those transits. It's not necessarily about your own experience, but also something you would think about if nothing happens related to that in your personal life. But you would look at the world and you will see this theme there somehow, somewhere. So yeah.
The interesting thing with what I've noticed is, like, I reached out to this person wanting to create peace and asking for a conversation, and when that request was rejected, then what arose in me is this desire for revolution, like,
yeah,
to create war, to create an upheaval. So I'm feeling that energy rising in me, and it's really strong. So why don't we talk about the gate 49? I'm just going to read the description.
Mm-hmm.
Gate 49, Revolution, the Gate of Principles. Ideally, the transformation of forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power.
Mm-hmm.
It's located in the solar plexus, which means it's emotional. It's a part of the quarter of initiation. So what would you like to say about this gate?
It's interesting that you mentioned how this unwillingness of the other person to listen to you made you feel like you want a revolution, because this is an example how we can see this continuity of all the gates in the rave mandala. As we look at the mandala, yeah, last time, as far as I remember, we have mentioned that there is this deep connection with each and every gate. It's like a whole story. So when we do not listen, we come to the topic of being sensitive, or vice versa, insensitive towards other people, yeah, and towards their specific needs. And we're either sensitive or insensitive if there is this resonance of our own emotional principles, right? In other words, I would say that we accept other people into our tribe or our team or our circle. We accept those people who are willing to support us, support our principles, stand by us, be with us, yeah? And we, vice versa, we tend to reject if we do not feel that support. We do not want to have anything common with those people if they are not like sharing our principles and supporting the principles. This is a tribal gate, and one of the main keynote of tribal circuitry is support. So it's all about support. What I think is important to say that this is a part of this channel 1949 channel of synthesis, design of sensitivity, and this is the background of our communities, yeah, and this is focused on the basic needs of people. 49 is particularly focused on such things as food, shelter, safety, and mainly actually the food. And this is the gate of principles. So what are the principles to distribute the resources, distribute food? And what is interesting to understand or to observe is that when people have enough, when they have enough to eat, they don't need to make a revolution. They avoid revolution, they avoid war, and when revolution starts, if the principles are not obeyed, or if the principles are unfair, and revolution starts, the principles are expressed and transformed in a very, very powerful emotional way. It's very undifferentiated, when the revolution is in its full turn, this wave can destroy anything. It doesn't differentiate who, where, and how, right? And I was thinking about an example of this gate, and I think one of the best examples is, if you remember the French Revolution, this famous story that the French Queen, Marie Antoinette, she was told that people are not satisfied because they have no bread. And she replied, "Oh, so why wouldn't they eat cakes in this case if they don't have bread?" And this is like something which triggered the crowd to burst into the palace, and then finally they basically decapitated her. So this shows that she was absolutely insensitive to the needs of the people, and this is how revolution started, right? 49 is an emotional gate. So the principles, it's important to understand that these principles are it's a very subjective thing. It's not objective, it's very subjective. It all depends on the stage of the wave, where you are in your wave, right? If you are at the bottom of your wave, you can be very insensitive to other people. And if you are on the high of your wave, you can be, vice versa, very sensitive. The lesson, I would think, for this week, for the upcoming week, is to be aware that you become very emotional when it comes to the support of the people you love, support of the people who are close to you, right? You can be very sensitive, and you may have these thoughts about the principles, whether they are fair to you, and so on. And the lesson is to wait because it is emotional, you need time to really identify what are your true inner principles, and not just act and make a revolution based on just emotions at the moment.
That is a brilliant message. Thank you for that.
There is another thing I would like to say about this gate, is that there is a very mystical layer here. Gate 49 is a part of the mystical channel 1949. And this is, you know, you started with the reading of the title of this gate, and it says ideally transformation of forms based on higher principles. And this is very interesting, higher principles. This is a part of the human mystical way. This is this need of people to look for the higher principles of God in order to survive, right? And according to human design, we know that this channel, there is a great mutation happening at the moment, and this channel is being dissolved these days. It's been destroyed, and the connection between the 19th and 49 will be cut. I was thinking what it would mean for us, for mankind, for
What
people.
do you mean that it will be cut?
Rauru said that, like literally, that the channel will be cut. We'll have the 19th gate and we'll have the 49th gate, but there will be no channel. So like this need of the people to look for some higher principles in as a part of the search of God for people in order to survive, right? So we used to come to God or to gods in our history, and we were asking those gods, what are the principles? How should we behave? What are the rules? Tell us, so that we obey, and then we survive. We'll have enough food, we'll have enough, I don't know, sheep in our fields, we'll have shelters, houses, and everything, right? So as this channel, and it's a historical thing, and as this channel will be cut, I think this would mean that this energy will just turn back inside. See what I mean? The only thing which would be meaningful for a person is one's own inner principles. There is no God anymore. There is no big father sitting somewhere in the sky telling you what to do, what principles to obey. You know, we are entering an epoch of individuality, individual spirit. So this is very interesting, I think. And
is that a part of the 2027 mutation?
Right. This is a part of this story.
Wow.
A lot of things are happening. There is a grand, how you call it, reorganization. And Rauru who said that it's a grand mutation, which is basically about the same.
So Natalia and I are going to do a whole masterclass about that. If anyone wants to join, the link is in the description or the bio, and it's all about the mutation of 2027. Is there anything else you want to end with?
Observe your feelings and do not rush. Wait before you decide to make a revolution.
Amazing. Okay, should we do the channeled message?
Yeah.
Be at peace. even within a revolution, which is a change, a powerful change, be at peace knowing that change is coming, and it's a good change. It's a change in the direction of greater good. And it is a moment of discernment where you get to decide what your principles are, and you get to strengthen your principles. So all that this is a process, and it can be a friendly process of strengthening yourself, strengthening your truth and your knowing, and then simply stepping into greater alignment with that truth. And it can be easy to focus on the other person involved in whatever revolution is happening, but ultimately the part of this that really matters is just you aligning with your own truth. So it's very much a personal process, and if you can remove your focus from the other person that may be involved, or the other party that's involved, and focus more on yourself and what is being shown to you in your own inner revolution, your own inner change and inner alignment, that makes everything more smooth and easy and enjoyable for you. Even it can be a tremendous release of your own power and your own magnitude, to feel almost like an explosive emergence of aliveness and God force within you as you align with your truth. And it's ironic because oftentimes when we look at a conflict, we see one party being right and one party being wrong. But in truth, each person can, in the same instance, have an inner revolution and align with themselves and strengthen in their truth and become more magnificent, even in a story where one person seems to be wrong and one person seems to be right. In fact, both can be made right in the same revolution. Both can be aligning. And it's really not yours to say who is aligning with what, because from your personal standpoint, you cannot possibly know that. And it's not your job to know that. Your only possible option is to know your truth. You simply can't get beyond that when you're in a physical form as an individuated self. You're not God. You're not the creator, because if you were, you could make a tree or a bird, or you could change the weather. You're the creation itself. You are a part of the all that is. You're a part of of God, but you're not the creator. You're the creation. So as a part, you can just see your part, and that's only your part to see. And so this is ultimately about you amplifying and occupying your magnitude. So allow this to be a week of your magnitude, of your glory in alignment with yourself. And that will make any revolution that does take place much, much easier and glorious. Okay, that was it. That was a great
Wow.
message.
Yeah, I loved it so much.
Me too. It felt personally very valuable and relevant. Well, thank you for this co-creation, and for those of you watching, we'd love to hear your comments.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, we'll see you. Have a great trip this week.